So now that we have our character kind of set up, we can go ahead and just make it so he has a very basic animation. And the only reason I'm doing that is to avoid having this little T-pose. So that way we can actually see the weapon and just make it a little bit more fluent. We don't have any sort of like walking or sprinting animation. We just have a basic idle and aimed on sights and fire, but that'll be enough for now because we're not really going to be focusing on setting up our actual weapon system too super complex or anything just, well, I say complex when it's a very simple system, but we're not going to be going super in depth with it just yet. And same thing with the animation. So the animation is just going to be kind of a placeholder system for us. Now, something I want to point out is so with the animation blueprints. So when we are playing and we see ourselves just as our first person arms, we have a third person mesh that's being hidden from ourselves. And that third person mesh also has an animation blueprint that other clients see. That animation blueprint, even though it's still on us, because it's hidden, it's not actually running. But the first person animation blueprint is, and vice versa for other clients that are looking at us. It's just reversed. So we can go ahead and begin by making a animation blueprint. Let's go to blueprint classes, player, no, sorry, FPS arms, or our arms, and I'm going to create a new animation blueprint for our FPS arms skeleton. I'll call this one ANMBP underscore FPS arms, like so. Open it up, go to the event graph, and there's not really much that I want to set up. Just want to have a basic check, so just going to do is aiming, and yeah, that's actually it. So what I'm going to do is right click, search for begin play. We're going to see event blueprint begin play. I'll do try get pawn owner. I'm going to try to cast this to BP character base. Yeah. I want to put some of the replication in there. Then we don't have any sort of indication for aiming, I believe, just yet. But that's fine. So now that we're here, what I want to do is I'm going to create another variable. I'm going to call this one character. That's going to be BP character base object reference. And I'm going to set it. All right, now that we're here, I'm going to get our character. Check if it is valid. And from here, we would do pretty much everything. Here's where we would, like, for instance, check if we're aiming. But that is something that'll be created later on. So anyways, it's running, big whoop, nothing special. Head over to the animation graph, and we have something called our output pose. You don't have this animation graph tab up here. What you can do is come down here and just double click on animation or anim graph. So we need to set up a state machine to run the output pose. We're going to right click, search for state machine, add new state machine, and link it up. Let's open up the state machine, create an entry point, do add state, call this one idle to run. Even though we don't have any running animations, open it up and just drag our idle animation in there, like so. Then I'm going to go ahead and break out of here. I'm going to add another state. I'm going to call this one aimed idle, or aimed idle to run. And here I'm just going to do the idle ADS, like so. And I'm going to add a condition. So if we are aiming, so here has the condition if we're aiming. So we're going to go from idle to run to aimed idle to run, only if we're aiming. And if we're not, so I want to do is aiming, not, then we simply will return back to idle to run. Yes, I did set the animation. And that is going to be all for right now. You can see when I compiled, the animation set itself like so. And if I set is aiming to true, you can see it goes through and it blends between the two animations like so. So here's our very basic animation setup for now. Now we can go ahead and actually set it. So in our blueprint classes, player, Nazi zombie character, mesh first person, I'm going to set it to anim BP FPS arms. You can see in the viewport, it actually changed it like so. So compile save, and let's test. Here we have our animation. Just a very basic idle, literally nothing more. We don't have any current way to indicate aiming, but that'll be done kind of. Actually, I might just end up doing that as a real quick part of the next video. But here's our setup. So now that that is out of the way, I will see in the next one where I think we're just going to implement a very quick and basic way to aim. And then in the next one after that, I'm thinking we will actually start working on our fire function. So that way the actual line trace comes out of the weapon instead of, out of our head. Where's the fire function? Instead of out of our camera like it currently does. So now that that is out of the way, I will see you in the next one.